reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome to Freedom Chat, where real Americans speak their minds. And no topic is off limits. No scripts, no judgment, just honest conversation, raw, unfiltered, and free. If you're ready to challenge the narrative and celebrate true freedom, you're in the right place. This is Freedom Chat.
Good morning. All right, let's get
Good morning.
Let's get a couple things out of the way right now. If you're in Colorado, if you're near, was it Lakewood, Colorado? It's right across the Colfax from Casa Bonita is an Elks Club, and my big band, the All American Big Band, is performing there this afternoon. We should be starting around 1:30 or 2 o'clock. We got sound check at 1. So I am, busy. As I like to tell people, there is absolutely no rest for Mark.
You gotta beat feed as soon as this is done, man.
Yeah, I gotta get in this. Hey, I actually have to wear a suit and tie. So
Man.
if you all want to see me dressed halfway decent, that's about the only time to see it.
I gotta see that.
All right, so let's get right into this. This has been going on now for, the legal battle between the federal judges that actually have no jurisdictional authority over the president and his orders, what he is supposed to do as the president per the Constitution of the United States. I will continually reference the Constitution of the United States. Anyway, these judges are either trying to put any kind of a legal pause to, and most of this is about the deportation of illegal aliens. I mean, 99.9% of what they are trying to stop is the removal of illegal aliens from our country. Well, let me just tell you, they have decided, these judges, that they're going to take it one step further. They are screaming about the administration not following any of their injunctions or any of what they got going on, and they're claiming that by doing so, the administration is breaking the law. Well, newsflash, if you read the Constitution of the United States as it pertains to the executive branch, they have no jurisdictional authority over the executive branch from doing his job. And I commend the administration personally for actually following most of these injunctions, because they have. At some point, though, you have to stop doing that, because it's counterproductive to what you're trying to do, and it does not follow the mandate of the American people. One of the things I voted for was to get illegal aliens out of our country and make them go through the process legally. I am not against immigration in any way, shape, or form. I'm simply saying that if you're going to come across our country, come across legally, follow the rules. And yes, as we have spoke about numerous times on this show, the rules are convoluted and outdated and everything else that we can say about them, but they are still the rules that are in place. Okay, this is the equivalent of let's take last night's hockey game, the Avalanche. Hey, go Avs, go Gabriel Landeskog, awesome, right?
Yeah.
But
Yep.
I'm listening to the game after visiting my mom, and Logan O'Connor had a delay of game penalty, so it's a 2-minute minor, and I'm listening to Connor McGahey talk about how that is one of those rules that shouldn't be a rule, because in the case of what happened, it was an incidental event. He was simply trying to get the puck back down the other side of the ice, and because of the way the puck was running and moving around, it hit his stick. It went right over the glass. Right. That's by the rules. That is delay of game. by the rules. But what Connor McGahey was saying was, this is one of those rules that is very outdated and needs to be either reworked or looked at. And that's what he said. Well, that's true. But right now, that's the rule. So you follow the rule.
Well, and it's hard to prove if it's intentional.
That's right. That's what I'm getting at. But in the case of illegal immigration and people coming across the border illegally, by the way, the Biden administration welcomed openly and allowed over 10 million illegal aliens in 4 years. Let me tell you people this. That is treason. That is otherwise known as a high crime and misdemeanor. That administration, and I don't care that he wasn't the one pulling the strings, he was the one that put his hand on the Bible and recited the oath of office. It falls on him first. But everybody in that administration, Mayorkas, all of them, every single one of them, Gray, who's the other one? Merrick Garland.
Garland, yeah.
Should be brought up on charges of treason.
Definitely.
Period. All right, so let's go to the judges. In Wisconsin, a judge in a county circuit court, her name is Hannah Dugan, was arrested for obstructing the arrest of Eduardo Flores Ruiz. So this alien was a wonderful dude, committed multiple acts of strangulation, battery, domestic abuse. This is a real sweetheart, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what Dugan did was Dugan knew ICE was coming, knew ICE was going to collect this clown, and what she did was put this clown into the juror's box. And then when the courtroom was cleared, let this illegal alien basically go out the back door.
Right.
Okay, so you want to file an injunction, that's fine. At least you're trying to follow what you believe is a legal process. But now you're openly violating the law. And it's not just law, it's federal law.
That's aiding and abetting, right?
Exactly. And they're sitting there and they're claiming, oh, these people deserve due process. Well, do they? Do they deserve due process?
Did they use due process to come into the country?
I don't think they did. I think that they just came across or were flown in because, there's ample evidence that the Biden administration flew hundreds, thousands of these people into our country.
But
hey, it's bad enough at the southern border. Let's just help them out.
Fly them on in, right?
Right.
Did they follow due process to bring them in? Either way, did they? Was there any process whatsoever?
No. Okay. No. I believe wholeheartedly what many patriots believe. This was intentional because it's going to take us 3 times the amount of time to get them out, and some of them we might never get out.
Like 200 years, I think, is what I heard.
It's astounding
to hear every single case
what they've done. Yeah, but we're not. And this is if you're going to follow due process, it's going to take that much time. They don't deserve due process. They don't have due process. Due process is for American citizens.
Right.
It's not for illegal aliens coming across the border and breaking our most basic laws.
Right.
They don't get due process.
No.
And for you bleeding heart, whatever the hell you want to call yourselves, I challenge you to come on. I have shared on Facebook. I challenge you to come onto the studio and talk to us and tell us why they deserve due process. How many of our people have been killed by these people, have been threatened by these people, have been terrorized by these people? What about their due process? Right. They're American citizens. What about their due process? While we're on the subject of due process, how many of the January 6th political prisoners got due process? Hey, I'll give you a quick hint. It's less than 1.
0.
So when we talk about these things, it's one of these things where you sit there, and if you're going to be honest, then be honest, right?
Yep.
You don't sit around and, well, it makes me feel good to say these things. Well, great. It makes me feel good to say that the tooth fairy is real too.
Right.
Yeah, right. It makes me feel good to say that the Easter bunny is a pretty cool, little mammal.
Mhm. Right.
The only problem is neither one of those things are real. And due process for illegals is also not real. And it doesn't matter one way or another how people feel about it. The truth is the truth. And I have talked about this a lot in past when it was just me doing this thing. The truth is not based on how people feel. The truth is the truth. Dennis could say, hey, this is my truth. Great, that's your truth. I could say, hey, this is my truth. The fact of the matter is that it's not the truth. The truth is simply the truth.
Isn't kind of like following science?
Well, yeah, and that's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other.
But right, I mean, but that is, to be quite frank, that is true.
Right.
This science is science. Biology is biology. I don't know how many other people need to understand this, and I don't understand what they don't understand. A boy is a boy. A girl is a girl. A hermaphrodite is a hermaphrodite. That is a boy and girl. That's a person with boy and girl parts, real boy and girl parts.
Right.
Not chemically created.
Right.
Does not matter how many people claim that they have transitioned to the gender that they identify with.
Right.
It still doesn't make it true.
If it's surgically attached, it's still not.
Or if it's been surgically removed.
Or surgically removed.
And what really frustrates me about all that, now we're going down a rabbit hole because. But at the same time, the rabbit hole fits the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Because they scream about due process, but then they applaud no due process. It is situationally driven. It is subjective, not objective.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I'm not going to want to follow that because, it makes everybody mad at me. Well, maybe you should stop caring whether people are mad at you. I don't care whether people are mad at me. I may be coming across a classmate today at the show, and I don't agree with what this person has posted in the past, and I have called this person out on it. And if we meet each other, I'll give this person a hug and I'll say, it's really good to see you. And if this person sits there and says, why did you call me out? Well, because you should have been called out. Because you didn't, none of what they were saying was coming out of their own brains. They simply regurgitated everybody else's garbage. And everybody else's garbage is exactly that. Where's the narrative coming from? Who's driving the bus? It goes right back to that. I think that on a very realistic sense, this nation has got a media that is so obviously out of control that, we talk about First Amendment. I mean, they talk about, Trump's going to kill the First Amendment. No, he hasn't done anything to kill the First. Just because he goes after the media, he isn't telling the media that they can't keep doing the things that they're doing. He's simply making the statement that, hey, newsflash, you're lying. Fake news. You don't have any credibility. That isn't a violation of the First Amendment. That is simply calling things as they are, calling them as they should be called, the truth.
Well, and the thing too with the media is that they only pick and choose what they want to cover. So that's in part, that's why what we talk about has to be regurgitated on other platforms, because they won't respond or show the stories, report about the stories, like Rachel Morin Let's see, she got what, zero coverage or very few minutes,
Pretty
very
much.
very little minutes of coverage. But then of course this guy in El Salvador, man, they're all over this guy.
Oh
man.
yeah, we'll probably jump back into that one in a minute. All right, we are going to go to a song. I have no idea what I want to play. I just know that I'm going to play something. Let's do this one.
Dear Mom, I had a few minutes to write down what's itching inside my mind. It's been too long since we have talked about nothing at all. Wish I could call. I know you're lost. Please don't you worry. There's no need to hurry. Just stay strong. It won't be long before we're together, right here in heaven. I miss you, Mom. Dear Mom, please believe I've done everything I needed to. Dear Mom, I'll be there with you, breathing while you're sleeping. Dear Mom, I know you are hurting, feeling the burden of me not there. You're way too strong to give up on living, instead of still giving the love in your heart. I know it's hard, but never forget the things that I did and the reasons why you are my mom. So please keep on living, caring and giving. I love you, Mom. Dear Mom, please believe I've done everything I needed to. Dear Mom, I'll be there with you, breathe while you're sleeping. I can't believe I'm saying these words to you, but believe what I'm saying. You made me the man that I am. Dear Mom, please believe I've done everything I needed to. Dear Mom, I'll be there with you, breathe while you're sleeping. I love you, Mom.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.com.
All right, welcome back. And you know,
Hey,
I forgot to tell people what we're going to talk about next, but the beautiful part about what we do is it is live for a reason, and it's raw and it's unfiltered, and it's important that this is what we're trying to accomplish and how we're trying to accomplish it. So, without further ado, let's talk about the next thing. Let me see. Donald J. Trump posted the following Twitter. I won't say tweet. It was the Truth Social, because he doesn't really do much on Twitter. He does most of what he does on Truth. Here's the statement. When tariffs cut in, many people's income taxes will be substantially reduced, maybe even completely eliminated. Focus will be on people making less than $200,000 a year. Also, massive numbers of jobs are already being created with new plants and factories currently being built or planned. It will be a bonanza for America. The External Revenue Service is happening. Okay, well, let's talk about those things a little bit. Are the tariffs working? I think that they've got a lot of nations at the negotiating table. So, yes, I think they are working. I think that the two of us have brought this up, and I know I have brought this up numerous times. We cannot afford to have the patience of a 2-year-old. We have to have the patience of adults, period.
Yeah, exactly.
The panic, and we've been watching this now going on, 3 weeks, right? It's been 3 weeks since he started this process. I find it hilarious because you keep hearing from the politicians who hate him and the media who hate him. He's only trying to cut the taxes of his rich friends. Actually, no. He stated very clearly, people that make under $200,000 a year may not be paying income tax at all here in the near future. That doesn't sound like helping out the super wealthy.
Nope.
Okay, so this is coming straight from the president. If we take him at his word, and please, someone give me pause. Otherwise, someone give me a reason why I shouldn't take this man at his word. Is he bravado? Is he braggadocious? Yes, he is. Is he over the top confident? Yes, he is. But outside of being a braggart, is he a blatant liar? I don't see the blatant lies. That's what I don't see. I see braggadocious behavior. I see massive bravado. I see all of these things as what he is and what he represents.
Everything he campaigned on, he's doing right now.
It's about the promises that he made.
Yep.
And is he trying to keep those promises? Well, it's pretty hard to say that he's not.
Right.
He is keeping those promises. Let's talk about promises. I've got a post here. It's from another state. It talks about licensing liberty. But just because it's from another state doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to everywhere in the country. No state shall convert a liberty into a license and charge a fee therefore. That would be Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, 319, United States Court 105. If the state converts a right, a liberty, into a privilege, the citizen can ignore the license and fee and engage in the right, which is liberty, with impunity. That is Shuttlesworth versus the city of Birmingham, Alabama. I don't know what the date on this was, but we have become a nation that is forced to purchase licenses, and it doesn't matter what those licenses are. I'm going to go through a list of the licenses that everyday Americans, no matter where they are in this country, have to pay to attain the right to engage in any activity. Okay.
Right.
Fishing, hunting, driver's license. I get that because you should be qualified to drive.
Definitely.
Drone. I get that also. You should be qualified to fly a vehicle. Barber, tattoo, massage, Travel agent, I can see that. You're dealing with people's money. You should probably have a license for that. Contractor, I get that too. Marriage. Do we really need a marriage license? Camping permit, construction permit, solar panel permit, livestock permit, street vendor, concealed carry, burn permit, protesting permit, photography permit, vehicle registration fees, which are obscene,
Oh, stupid.
boat registration, bicycle registration, motorcycle registration, building permits, parking meters, toll roads, land use, firearm licenses, park entry and liquor license. There are some of these that I see as being necessary, but I'll give you the ones that don't. Fishing, hunting, marriage, putting anything on your house, just make sure it's safe.
Right.
Camping permits, toll roads. Where did we lose the rights that we've had that we had for years? Maybe you can explain this to me. I mean, I get to stammering a little bit, which is maddeningly frustrating, but maybe you can explain to me at what point I had to go and pay for the privilege of marrying my wife, both of my wives. I married and divorced years ago. So at what point did I have to basically ask the government permission or pay the government for the privilege?
What about, well, that, I mean, okay, the marriage. What about something as simple as camping? Why, or fishing? What if, you're on a tight budget, which we all are, and you're an avid fisherman, and you enjoy fish, extremely enjoy fish for eating, not
Right.
just for the sport, but you rely on it to feed yourself and your family.
Right.
And why do you have to have a permit to go do that?
Correct. And that's the thing is why? I mean, it's very frustrating when we sit down and realize, holy crap, we don't actually have freedoms.
No, not like we
All
used
of the
to.
things that we're dealing with have no freedom at all. I mean,
Remember,
it's just
remember when we
insane.
could just pick up and go camping?
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why I go to the camping place that I go, because there are still spots that are free range like that. And that's
Right.
where I go to camp. I pitch a tent, I sleep on a mattress. That's what I do. It's just very maddeningly frustrating that we should even have to hunt and peck for places to fish and camp for free.
Well,
You know,
don't you have to wait in line now for that too in a lot of those camp spots?
Oh yeah.
You
Well,
have to
yeah.
get on
Well,
the
no.
list?
I mean, it's a first come first serve basis, and
Okay.
thank goodness when I do go camping, it's 2 days. 1 day, 2 day after Memorial Day weekend. It's during the middle of the week or
Right.
the end of the week, so I'm not dealing with a lot of people there.
Yeah.
You're always going to have some people, because there are a lot of people that do think the way I do, which is
Right.
hey, less is more.
Yeah.
And I do that to get away from people after spending an entire 3 days with mass amounts of humanity. It gets to be too much. It
Absolutely.
just does. All right. So here's what's funny about these segments. We get them. We're supposed to be able to do them for 15 minutes, but we don't ever get a full 15 minutes after the first 15 minutes, which is just kind of the way it is. It's kind of how it works. So I'm gonna play another one, and we're gonna go. And when we come back, we're gonna talk specifically about the J6 committee, the things that they did that are illegal, and what they did to American citizens that are otherwise known as political prisoners. So
Stick around.
stick around. We're coming right back.
Signed up to fight for freedom. What a price you had to pay. Picture in a helmet, missing family every day. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane. Some scars we'll never see. She will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter. She's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. On that old dusty base with the meadows that shine, she's been to hell and back for the stars and the stripes. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane, and some scars we'll never see, and she will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. Yeah, yes. For the ones that didn't make it, we will pause and then we cry. We can still see their smile in every sunrise. She's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.net.
All right, let's get right into this. The January 6th committee. I'm going to read a post coming from a guy named Larry Record Jr., and he just did a meme. I get a lot of my stuff out of memes, but I also vet these memes, and this is what I can tell you. The J6 committee withheld and destroyed information that would have easily and quickly proven that President Trump, then President Trump, and even now President Trump, did nothing wrong. We have found this all out through videos, through the release of the January 6th videos. I'm also going to go to Wikipedia to show how a narrative is formed and what gets created and how it gets created, and how people that are not hyper aware. Jesse Kelly calls it that. You have people who are unaware. You have people who are basically evil. These people are evil. And you have those who are hyper aware. That would be people like us. We are hyper aware. That's what we are. This is what hyper aware people do. We dig deep enough to actually see and get people to understand what is real and what is not. So the majority, now keep in mind, this was when the Democrats had control of the House. All right. The chairman was Benny Thompson. Then you had Zoe Lofgren from California, Adam Schiff from California. Boy, we love these Californians. Pete Aguilar from California, Stephanie Murphy from Florida, and we have Jamie Raskin from Maryland and Elaine Loria from Virginia. The minority, the vice chair, was Liz Cheney, and the other one was Adam Kinzinger from Illinois. Why are those two people important? Those two people are important is because they were placed by Nancy Pelosi after multiple nominations from Jim Jordan, who was at the time the minority leader of the Republican Party. He was nominated, and that was Kevin McCarthy that did that for him. And another one was nominated, and she outright refused those people. So we had Jim Jordan, Rodney Davis, Kelly Armstrong, Troy Nihas. They were all basically turned down by the Democratic Party. So when you stop and you realize just how one-sided this committee was, it was a committee that was intended to do one thing and one thing only, and that was put a stain on President Trump and on President Trump's reputation and on President Trump's that day. Now, the other thing that when you read it from Wikipedia, this is mind-blowing. They call it an attack. It's even today being referred to as an attack. No, it was a riot. If it had been an attack, it would have been far more bloody and it would have been far more brutal.
No, absolutely.
We keep wanting to call it something that it wasn't. Okay, they keep wanting to call it something that it wasn't. And I always tell these people, hey, you guys keep calling it this stuff, but I don't even think you understand what it is that you think you're calling it. I know what an attack looks like. I just, we've seen it again and again and again. How many times do we have to go through this? How many times do we have to hear about American citizens being denied their constitutional rights? Right to a speedy trial, right to see an attorney, right to have an open trial, right to, how many times?
Well, right. I will admit I haven't heard the word insurrection in quite a while.
Well, thank God for small miracles, but let's not even, since you brought it up, thanks. We know what it was. We know what it wasn't. But right. The mere fact that they were not supposed to touch any of the videos that they had created. And remember, they propped this up on national television and showed the American people what they wanted the American people to see. There was no fact finding. Nope. Because once the real videos came out, that was live, raw, and uncut, it starts to prove the whole narrative of Donald Trump spun them up. Donald Trump inspired them with his words. No, Donald Trump didn't do any of that. If you don't know where the Capitol building is in reference to where that rally was being held, then you can't talk about whether or not Trump said or did anything. Right. So if you're not willing to admit that logistically they couldn't have listened unless they had a radio where they were listening to it directly in their earbuds, I don't believe any of that was going on. What I do know is I've seen numerous videos. Once the videos were released, I watched multiple videos showing the Capitol Police launching tear gas canisters and pepper ball bombs and flashbang bombs into the crowd.
You also saw the Capitol Police holding the damn door open for a lot of people too.
That's the other thing. They were holding the door open for people, and hey, just go in, but don't do anything.
Yeah, don't touch nothing.
Don't touch nothing. Right. Don't interfere with what's going on. Right. Come on, give me a break. The mere fact that this stuff was destroyed, the mere fact that these people have, and I'm going to be very honest, I don't know at this point in time if they're going to be charged. I hope that they do, because as the left crazies love to say, no one is above the law. Well, guess what? No one is above the law. Since we want to go that road, let's go that road.
Well, what about the hearings being played on TV like it was some kind of crime drama TV show?
I know.
That was the most stupidest, ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
And you watch it and you go, what are you doing? I don't He said, I don't understand.
You know why they did that? Because so the viewers that watch The View could watch it.
Yes, so that the people on The View. Okay, I just changed the background.
Ooh, I
It is
like
way
that.
too distracting. So
Yeah,
we're gonna go back.
Whoa. That was very cool, but distracting.
Yeah, very cool, but yeah. So back to the Jace. That was preemptive. I apologize. I'm kind of all over the place right now.
That was a cool song, though.
Let's get so let's kind of look at this through a microscope if we can. Okay, when you are trying to drive a narrative, you lose any kind of credibility if you're simply reporting the news, or if they really were a fact-finding, which is what they were supposed to be, a fact-finding commission to figure out what really happened. Well, they came right out almost instantaneously and made it abundantly clear that it was to find out what Trump's role was.
Mm-hmm.
Not, let's take a look at what really happened.
Right.
Because if you had taken a look at what really happened, you would have seen, and they had access to the tapes, so you know that they reviewed the tapes. They cherry-picked what they wanted to cherry-pick.
Yeah, they did.
Were embarrassed by what happened, and they should have been. I mean, look, I am along the. I'm right there with Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. What happened on that day should have never happened. The people who lost control on both sides, here's that both sides thing, right?
Yeah.
Should have been handled in a different manner. There were dumb people all over the place. The Capitol Police that were letting them in through the door, they are equally culpable when the things got out of control. The crowd that the proof is in the pudding now, that there were government paid entities in that crowd that were aiding in the spinning up of that crowd.
Yeah, they were planted.
They were, exactly. Yeah. So let's call a spade a spade. The whole thing was a setup to try to ensure that a person who, by my estimation, and this is my estimation, wants to make our country what it is supposed to be, a country of freedom and prosperity, a country where Americans can be proud of being Americans again,
right.
That they're not ashamed of their government, that they're not ashamed of the country itself, that they look at the American flag and it's looked at with pride and it's looked at with adoration.
Right.
That's
well, you know what those videos, when they first brought those videos out and were showing the public, it just reminds me of like how the like when something top secret gets, declassified, but there's still redactions in it.
Right.
That's kind of what those videos, when they first came out, reminded me of, because they weren't showing the whole thing.
Right. Right. And here's the thing is, the Zapruder film shows everything, almost. Yeah. There's other film of the assassination that shows other angles.
Right.
And it leads us to realize that there's more going on.
Right.
Okay. So in this case, we knew that there was more going on.
Yeah, definitely.
If you couldn't tell after the first 48 hours that the left media, the communist media, the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party was going to go full court press, then we have a serious problem, because people like me were sitting there going, there's no way this is an insurrection. There's no way it was a revolution. There's no way it was an attempt to overthrow the government. And I had people attack me instantaneously. This was no insurrection. And I'm looking at it from a historical base. I'm not even looking at it from a holy crap, did you see what happened base? it simply was not what it was said to be.
Right.
So, our next and final segment will be, wow, the leftist propaganda against Trump and his administration.
Uh-oh.
We're going to go back to that song because I thought that song sounded cool.
Stick around.
So here we go. Bang!
On the front lines we stand, side by side, with courage and strength that we won't let slide. Through the chaos, our hearts beat as one. Each brother's a soldier, into battle we run. When the shots ring out, we won't back down. In the silence of loss, we'll wear our crown. We are soldiers, brothers in arms. Through fire and fury, we weather the storms. In unity, forged through the blood that we shed. Together we stand, living for the dead. Each step we take, through the mud and the pain, memories linger like the echoes of rain. We fight for the fallen, our spirit won't break. In honor we carry their names in our wake. Though the cost is high, our bonds grow tight. In the darkest of hours we'll shine our light. We are soldiers, brothers in arms. Through fire and fury, we weather the storms. In unity, forged through the blood that we've shed. Together we stand, living for the day. With every heartbeat, we carry their name. In the brotherhood force, you'll never be the same.
The station where our veterans' voices are heard, MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Welcome, Quack.
Program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
The web at mbradio.net.
All right. So before we get started, I'm going to show a couple of posts based on what we were just talking about and what we're going to really kind of dig in. A person who calls themselves Cozy K Gaming, absolutely 100%. You are correct. They are very good at twisting the narrative how they want to twist it. And then don't get me started on The View. We are actually going to talk about those people. So please keep making some comments. As I come across these, I will pop them on and we'll answer them. For those guys who see what we're doing, jump on and keep making comments. We're learning as we go. Dennis and I are into what? We started this in like October on our own, right? This is literally our 4th week doing this in a much more professional setting. So help us out, man. Jump in and let's have some, as like I like to say, let's have some fun. So the left media biased against Donald Trump and the administration. And if we're going to go ahead and call it anybody who doesn't think like them, I have called these people part of the hive mind mentality. It's the one thing that I think that the Democrats have that is really, really strong, but in that strength is their inherent weakness. If something doesn't fit, they do not have the ability or the capacity to talk against it. They
Right.
don't have the ability to actually say anything that is counter to what they started out as. So just remember, when we talk about having a narrative, we can talk about the debate. We can talk about the things that need to be talked about, right? They cannot. They don't have that ability. For them, it's all about they have to stay in lockstep. So keep that in mind when we're talking about the left media. So here's one. It's a series of little short videos from our good friend Rachel Maddow. Need I remind people that she is really, really smart, but she's a pathological liar, and she has an audience. And this is what she said in 2023.
Which makes her very dangerous.
It is. Okay, so 2023, she said, nobody's above the law. We only have one system of law for everyone. Nothing about being an elected official gives you a license to commit crimes or a license to get away with it if you do. And then 2024, it goes on and on and on about how this system is supposed to be so unbiased and supposed to be this and supposed to be that. Well, you can't have it both ways, Rachel. You can't sit there and say nobody is above the law and then start whining and complaining when a judge gets arrested for breaking the law. In this case, two of them, one in New Mexico for harboring MS-13 criminals. When
One
they
in his house.
phone, they found beheaded people on that phone.
Right.
And
And
this goes back to due process garbage.
That cat was in his house. He was in his house.
He was living with him. And it wasn't just one, it was multiples. Let me tell you people something. If you are harboring an illegal alien, you are committing a felony.
Yep.
Period. If you are interfering with ICE and the Department of Homeland Security, newsflash, you are committing a felony.
Yep.
Sanctuary cities, sanctuary states, there is no such thing. There is lawbreakers and there is patriots. There are traitors and traitorous government officials, Denver, Colorado, and then there are patriots.
And if those people are deemed a terrorist, it's a federal offense.
Correct. So I'm not hearing any more of this crap. Well, it's a sanctuary city. No, there's no such thing. You're harboring criminals, period.
Yep.
And I'll go back to our friend Jameer, who talked to us a couple of times when we first got started. I empathize with anybody who has a immigrant or a foreigner as a wife or as a loved one, and you're struggling to get through the system. My advice to you, keep fighting.
Yeah.
Okay? Keep fighting. And my second piece of advice to everybody, if you want things to change, get on the phone with your congressman and make them go to work. My congressman is Jason Crow. In my opinion, he's pretty much useless.
Yep.
I'm sorry, he's useless. My senator is Senator John Hickenlooper. Equally useless. Period. Yep. That's it. He's useless.
Michael Bennett,
who is going to be running for governor.
Wow,
that's just what we need. Yeah. Another person hell-bent on destroying our state.
Right.
Because guess what? That's what they're going to do. They're going to destroy our state.
Yep.
And I don't like the fact that they're going to destroy our state. And I don't like them because they're going to destroy our state. Let's see. The news bias against Donald Trump. Let's read one here. The dress code for the Pope's funeral was a dark suit. Navy blue suit and tie combination is dark, and it looked great on Trump. But the left media would have you believe that Trump was being disrespectful to the Vatican. He wasn't being disrespectful to the Vatican. If you were to pan the photographs back, you would have seen he wasn't the only one wearing a blue Navy suit. But because it's him, once again, I say this again and again and again. Dennis, what is it that I say? It's not the what,
It's the Who.
It's the Who. Ding, ding, ding. It's like, can we please, for the love of God, stop lying? Can the media just stop lying
Mark,
to us?
Mark, you know why they're concentrating on this now with the Trump at the Pope's funeral? Because you know why? Because of Mr. Sleepy Joe checking his watch. Remember that?
Right. It's a way to say, well, look at what he did.
It's in response to that.
Right. And here's the sad part. Trump wasn't doing anything wrong. I watched the video. I saw him at the funeral. He was not doing anything wrong. He wasn't doing anything that anybody else wasn't doing in the funeral. By the way, for those of you who have been to a funeral, have you paid 100% attention during the funeral? I would say no, because I never have. So if you're going to be that dude, then be that dude. He wasn't doing anything that any one of us haven't done. And it doesn't matter whether it was on the world stage. Doesn't make a dang bit of difference one way or another what stage it was on. Fact of the matter is, they like to do this so they can make him look bad and deflect back against the people that should be criticized. And who should be criticized? Everybody else. They all should be criticized for that matter. Even when Trump does something stupid or does something that you disagree with, we should push back against it.
Definitely.
But we shouldn't be pushing back against garbage like this. Oh, look at what Donald Trump was doing. Well, Donald Trump wasn't looking at his watch while he was standing waiting for dead American bodies.
Right.
Trump actually salutes.
Yep.
Trump doesn't need to be hand guided anywhere.
Right.
Biden was at the funeral the other day. They had to make sure he had somebody with him. Otherwise, he would have got lost.
I saw a meme about him at the funeral, and it was a picture of him and Jill. But the caption on the meme said, "Hey, it's Joe Biden and Alice Cooper attending the Pope's funeral."
Right.
Like she's sitting there. I mean, of course it was a joke, but she kind of looked like Alice Cooper. I mean, what can you say?
Right.
It was hilarious.
It's just a sad state
When
you hear them and you talk about all of this. Here's one, MSNBC. Ken Delanian admits the facts don't look good for Judge Dugan. That's the judge in Wisconsin who got arrested.
Yeah.
But wonders, was it really necessary to arrest her? Really? Because this is the same clown who was all for arresting and charging a former president. Arresting a judge is a big step. This is the problem.
They're not above
They
the law.
don't want balance. They don't want no one is above the law. In fact, they actually want it. They want it slanted into their direction.
Right. So that people
look,
are above the law.
Right. And look, going back to the J6, I do not know, honestly, do not know what's going to come out of that. I honestly don't. But I will say this. If the Department of Justice is doing what they should be doing, they should be gathering ironclad evidence so that when they finally do start pressing and filing charges, there is nowhere to run. There is nowhere to hide. That is my take on all of that. We're going to probably go back to this media bias against the president multiple times because, damn, it's insane. We are actually, I plan on creating a entire segment around The View and the people that are on The View, which I am pretty sure will be very, very, very entertaining. And maybe we'll get a few laughs out of it also. Maybe. I hope we get some laughs out of it. That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
I got to make sure I got my barf bag handy.
Right. All right, guys. That is it. have a great week. I hope you have a great week. And
Godspeed, everybody.
yeah, so here we are. We're closing it out. Have a great week. And as always, God bless the United States of America. God bless y'all.
God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us, giving our veterans a voice.
All right, brother. That was good.